You're listening to The Straight Line on MRN.com, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Shaheen, Doug Herbert with you, getting ready for another episode of a little drag racing show we love to do every week.
I'm ready, man.
No racing this weekend, so...
no racing, so we're going to talk to some of our past winners from Gainesville and, see if we can maybe get another person to win after coming on the show.
That's right. Richie Crampton's going to be looking to come on every week.
Yep.
We're going to have Ron Capps here in a little bit. And we're also going to have Andrew Hines. But with Ron, we're going to talk about the fuel altered he got to drive, which was a bucket list item for him to do. Have you ever driven anything kind of out of the box? Well, not, kind of out of the box?
Not really. I'm a dragster guy. I've always been a dragster guy. But I've sat in some of those cackle cars. Like, you got a chance to sit in that funny car. I've got to do that a few times. And I would take a front engine dragster for a ride. I think that would be cool.
Would that be the one you would do?
I think so. Yeah.
An altered or?
Yeah, I'm a dragster guy, just like I like dragsters. Always. Okay. I just always have liked dragsters. Mainly, I think, because I always had to pay my own bills. And so why would you want to go slower and spend more money? I want to go, let's go as fast as we can. Yeah. So that's why dragsters have always just been what I liked. I guess that was my reason.
So a front engine car would be the way you would go.
Yeah, I think so. I think a front engine car. I'd like to drive one of those old, like that Greer Black Prudhomme car or some old, some cool car like that. Yeah, that would definitely.
I mean, if you're going to pick one, that's
pretty
much
that's
the
one
to go with.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad had a pretty neat car. They actually won more races at Lions in, I think, 65, 66 than anybody. Zane Schubert drove the car. It was a pretty good car. That'd probably be one I'd have to build when I get ready to build my cackle car. Maybe one of my old crew chief Jim Brissett's cars, the Grenadier car or something like that. Well, I don't know. I'll figure it out. But we've talked about it before. Go to the kids' Christmas or birthday party, right? You fire up the car. They get to sit in the car. What's cooler than a nitro dragster at a birthday party?
Yeah, it's way better than those silly video game trucks, right?
Yeah,
or a bouncy house. I mean, you want to bounce? We got to bounce for you.
Exactly.
We'll put a little fire in your step.
Yeah.
We'll do this thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. So, yeah, after I get my Bonneville car done, Mimi's probably got 10 projects for me in between.
I was going to say, you got a busy summer ahead of you.
Yeah.
We got to build a...
Yeah, I got to get that. I got to get that car going.
We got a front engine dragster, flying all over the place. You got a crazy week ahead of you.
Yeah, no problem. It'll,
Well, I mean, how tough would it be to do a front engine dragster these days compared to...
I don't think, as far as
getting it together. What do you
building one? I don't think they're that hard. There's several guys that make like chassis kits. So you can weld the thing together in your backyard or whatever, and find an old 392 to put in there, and off you go. I mean, there's not much to them really. I mean, most of them don't have transmissions. They've got a clutch in them. If you're going to use it for just a cackle car, you don't even really need a clutch.
Well, you'd have to run it.
Yeah, okay,
you couldn't just cackle it.
We got to make it so we could run it at least, right?
Right. At least tell yourself.
At least bring it over to ZMAX one time, and we just.
Yeah,
you're probably right. Okay, all right. We'll have to put a clutch in it.
I'll cackle it. You drive it. That would be the. I'll warm it up, and then you'd have to.
Okay.
Launch
I mean,
down.
there would be nothing more fun than going out and making a 200 mile per hour run in the old, it's fairly safe front engine dragster. Yeah.
Is there anything fairly safe about a front engine dragster? I mean, really. That kind of defies the whole concept, doesn't it? Safe and front engine dragster doesn't really go.
You just got to do it once just to say you did it.
You got to do it once.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. All right. Well, we're going to have a straight line show brought to you from ZMAX Dragway, and it'll be Ralph doing the cackle and me doing exhibition run down there. We should sell tickets for that though, so we got to figure that out.
And we'll put the money to brakes.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome. Like See, we're already we're promoted. We're the Humpy Wheeler. Be proud of us.
Figured out. Okay. So that being said, now we're going to find out what it's really all about. When we come back, Ron Capps is going to be here telling us all about chasing his dream of getting to drive a fuel altered. Stay with us here on The Straight Line.
O'Reilly Save on your next oil change at O'Reilly Auto Parts when you purchase 5 quarts of Valvoline conventional motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $24.99. Or for higher mileage vehicles, upgrade to Valvoline Max Life motor oil for $25.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The battle for the 2019 championship will be filled with twists and turns.
We got to kind of calm down for these speedway races because you can use the bumper, but you end up taking 10 other people with you.
Each weekday, NASCAR Today brings you the top stories in the sport.
That's a totally different experience for me and Cup.
In the garage, at the track, or behind the scenes, NASCAR Today keeps you up to speed every weekday.
Go for it. What do we got to lose? I don't know. I mean, you might as well try it, right?
Attention Junior Nation, get your Dale Jr. fix with MRN. We talk about everything from his relationship with Dale Sr.
He wanted to make sure that he worked at it to get it.
To biggest wins and Hendrick Motorsports.
Dale Jr. leading the field off of turn 4.
When we won the Daytona 500, that made me feel good about my impression on the company.
With some of the people closest to NASCAR's most popular driver. Tune in to Junior's Journey on iTunes and MRN.com.
Well, we are back on MRN's The Straight Line presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts, and normally I would introduce this guy as one of the top stars of NHRA's funny car division, but Ron Capps, you're a fuel altered driver now, and I know that's pretty cool on your bucket list of things to do.
Yeah, that's, there were several times I was sitting in that thing out at the March meet and thinking to myself, what am I doing here? And I'm sure sometimes my boss, Don Schumacher, probably thinks, what are you doing? But yeah, to drive a fuel altered, man, you talk about something I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid. Those things are just, so crazy and wild and unpredictable and cool. And they're really the reason I wanted to be, a race car driver as a kid. I wanted to be a fuel altered driver, but funny car was kind of the next best thing. It was as crazy and wild. And so it was nice to go back and jump in one of those at the historic March meet.
Hey, Ron, so tell us about how did that come together? How'd you get the opportunity to come together?
Well, Doug, it's man, the whole nostalgia scene, it's just grown and grown, and I got real involved with the nostalgia funny car scene. God, maybe when I was driving for Don Prudhomme, probably 15 years ago, I got invited to go out there, and there were only a few in the country being built, and you're talking old school 1970s CUDA bodies and no windows and don't need the roof hatch, to open to let the smoke out because there was no side windows. And the bodies look like they did when we were kids, and with old school names like Blue Max and Chi-Town Hustler and just all the stuff that we grew up on. So I got real involved going and doing it, and Del Worsham built the Blue Max, and several other drivers would jump into them on weekends, and it just grew and grew and grew. And next thing you know, the March meet, the last 10 years has had 40 plus of these cars from all over the world going to that race trying to make a 16-car show. So the same thing has been happening lately last few years with the fuel alters. And so I just got a phone call from Brian Hall, the guy that won the March meet last year, and his fuel alter called the Tramp, and he built another Topolino body. And I always said I wanted to drive a Topolino bodied fuel altered, and they built one. So he said, you want to come drive it? And he didn't have to ask twice. And off I was.
So your Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat is obviously one of the wildest things on the planet. It's an NHRA funny car. But what is driving that Topolino like compared to your Hellcat?
Man, if you just go look for, obviously you can Google search it or go look at our Facebook or social media and look at it. It's got no spoilers. In fact, somebody told me it was the quickest fuel altered without a spoiler ever. It went 617. It went 200 miles per hour at half track. It's an old Fiat Topolino body with no wings, no spoilers like we have nowadays. Very, very little, if none, no downforce. And on top of that, you've got a shorter wheelbase than our funny cars. Our funny cars are 125-inch wheelbase. These things are like 110, 115-inch. So they're very, very squirrely to begin with. And so you put those things all together, and it just makes for a wild ride. So, our Dodge Hellcat, I step on the gas and go 0 to 330 in 3.8 seconds, and you're driving it, but you're also 3.8 seconds. It's mayhem for 3.8 seconds. You don't really get to enjoy the actual run until the chutes come out. And so this thing, it's a quarter mile. It's 6 seconds. You get the shift, which we don't in our cars, and you're really having to drive it. It's wanting to go everywhere but straight. So it really, I told Mike Dunn and Larry Dixon, I said, man, I think this is going to make me a better driver. Much like when I go do dirt racing or anything else we go do, I really think.
Did we lose you, Ron?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you
good.
go.
So on a weekend off, what do? You go to Bakersfield and you run a fuel altered. When we were talking a little bit before the show, you were checking in and telling update about Supercross racing. So like, you're pretty much a racer, and everything has something to do with racing. It sounds like, no matter what.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I love everything about it. Talking about the fuel altereds, I know ZMAX every year they invite those gassers out. I know, Ralph, you saw them when you came out. They invite about 8 gassers that run side by side. They put on a heck of a show before we run. And it's the old Willies and Anglias and things like that. And I just grew up loving every kind of motorsport. So, yeah, if I can't watch it live, I DVR the Supercross stuff or the motocross or outdoor. And, anything to do with racing, I'm zoomed in on it. My DVR is full of it.
So you mentioned how you feel this is going to help you with your driving. We've got a lot of mutual buddies like our pal Tony Stewart there who does a lot of different stuff. Rico Abreu does a lot of different stuff. A lot of these racers are driving a wide variety of cars because, as you said, they feel like it helps them in their quote-unquote day job on a given Sunday. You said you thought this altered will help you improve your driving behind the wheel of the funny car. Do you see yourself on other off weekends doing more of this, whether it's an altered or a gasser or something else, to maybe fine-tune those skills?
Yeah, in fact, just yesterday I was with J.R. Todd, Jack Beckman, and we did a charity go-karting event at Sonoma, which has the most premier go-kart track in the world. In fact, they're having this following weekend, I think, a world-class go-kart event. And we do it every year and raise money for Speedway Children's Charity. It's a big deal, but we had 40 people. It sells out every year, and these people come. We had some sprint car guys. But JR showed up for the first time, and he's good at whatever he gets in, and we had a pretty good battle. And every year I leave there without being able to move my arms the next day because I'm so sore. Because it really, I think every time I go do the go-karting, whatever it might be, it definitely makes me better. And, you and I, we've gone and raced dirt cars in the past. Yep. Any chance I get running the Prelude all those years, I really felt like jumping in something you're not used to, first of all, and being able to adjust to it and figure it out. It definitely helps me in situations when we're thrown at, 11,000 horsepower for 3.8 seconds. You got to make split decisions. Your life could depend on it, and the welfare of somebody else's life or the car. So I think those moments of, let me tell you, going into turn 3 at the Prelude at Eldora, I race that thing every year. I went 337 miles an hour in a funny car. Nothing prepares you for turn 3 at Eldora, surrounded by Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart, and trying to keep the throttle wide open. That will test every bit of your ability. So every year I left doing that thing, I felt like it made me a better race car driver.
Hey, Ron, tell us a little bit about your Napa Ron Tobler prepared Dodge Charger funny car. You guys are kind of out there, doing okay this year, but not really what we expect from you guys. We normally, by third race of the year, you've already won a race. Tell us, are you trying some stuff?
I didn't even bother. We're 9th, which is strange for us, but we're only 3 races in, and, we didn't go to preseason testing, and we really kind of got behind. I think we're going to look back, and that was probably not the best decision. But, brand new Dodge Hellcat bodies, a lot to adjust to, and, Tobler, he doesn't venture too far out, and we haven't really had a bad car. We just haven't been that up top dominating position. But we're heading to some warmer tracks now, Vegas in a couple weeks, and then we start going back to Charlotte and places where we're going to go in the summertime. And I think we're going to be fine. We just haven't had the good start like we're used to.
Ron, talk about that new body. How is it different, and what are you guys working on with it?
Man, I wouldn't think it could have been that much different, but oh my gosh, there's so much more, and luckily, so much more downforce for the front end. it's really been a lot for me to adjust to. Matt Hagan, those guys, they started running it last year in Denver. They got the first body, so he's got a lot of runs under his belt with it. And I just, the rest of us have trying to get used to it. Way more touchy from half track on, which is good. It's just not something we're used to the last few years. We've been used to the front end really light, dancing around, on top of how crazy these things are with the front end barely touching the ground. It becomes a handful trying to keep them, in the groove. So that's been probably the biggest adjustment. And I'm still getting used to it. I glanced the wall in Gainesville in the shutdown area when we went to number one qualifier, the very first run. I just couldn't get it back in the groove, and it went over and just glanced off and pushed the header in. So that was my first sort of Darlington stripe, I guess, if you will, for the new. I didn't get the body, just the header, but definitely had Toller looking at me funny, going, "What are you doing out there?"
Hey, Ron, we've got 2 4-wide races this month with Vegas coming up, and then also over here at ZMAX Dragway. What are your feelings about the 4-wide races? And I think you've had some pretty good success at them before. So tell us a little bit about what you think about them coming up.
Yeah. We've always enjoyed the 4-wide, especially when it started out at ZMAX. And then last year was the first inaugural Vegas 4-wide, and it's a blast. I surely wouldn't want to do it in our countdown or late in the year when the points really get touchy. But early this time of the year, all you got to do is go in the shutdown area. And the first time we all make runs, you get out and you look over, and there's Tim Wilkerson and Forrest and Height and my teammate. Everybody's laughing and smiling when you get out of the car. It's something we're not used to, with all having to figure out the Christmas tree and all that stuff. It's like a video game. It's really strange. And race day is strange because you can't not get back in it. We're used to seeing one car next to us, and if you're in trouble and that car's out in front of you, you just let them go. You don't want to blow the thing up and lose the race. Well, the 4-wide, 3 advance. So you don't know what's going on in the other 2 lanes. And when you get down to race day, there could be more issues going on in the lanes next to you, and you can't see those other 2 lanes. So then you have, you're trying to do everything you can to get this car going again, no matter what. And, we won the last year, and my car had fire coming out. I could see it in the little windows of the firewall, but I wasn't lifting. So, and it's just those kind of moments. It's fun and it's crazy, but I'm glad we just do it early in the year.
Well, listen, you and I are both mutual metalheads together. What do you got going on in your music world these days?
Oh man, that's a great question. What have I been listening to lately? I still old school it, man. I just the other day where I was listening to old Sammy Hagar with Montrose, and it's just once in a while somebody will send something new to me, and I love it. But there's nothing like putting on a good old school rock and roll album,
Little rock candy. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Hey, Ron, great having you on the show. Really excited you got a chance to drive that fuel altered. Think that's very cool. And best of luck when you guys strap back in that Dodge of yours in Vegas.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, we'll be back. Andrew Hines coming up next here on Straight Line.
O'Reilly.
Is your check engine light on? Don't ignore it. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today and let our professional parts people scan your vehicle for free. We'll retrieve the codes, discuss possible solutions, and even help you find a professional technician if needed. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today for our free check engine light help. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The 1993 Cup Series season had more than its fair share of twists and turns.
Checkered flags waving. I look in my mirror, and here's Earnhardt right on my tail, and he goes down low to pass me. And I said, oh, no, you don't.
As Wallace spins, Wallace's car goes on its nose.
Hear stories that you've never heard before in a 10-part series called The 1993 Season, 25 years later.
And Davey was behind me, and we came off the corner, and there's a guy standing in the middle of the racetrack.
You can download it for free on iTunes and at MRN.com right now.
When the racing concludes each weekend, keep up with the non-stop NASCAR news each weekday on NASCAR Today Midday.
The drafting type races I've always excelled in, so that's where I see a tremendous advantage.
I think it was very important for us to get Martin and to get Cole, both of those as a group, because they're very good at what they do.
NASCAR Today Midday, Monday through Friday on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
We are back with more of MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Shaheen, Doug Herbert with you. And the man who leads the Pro Stock Motorcycle points on his Screaming Eagle, Vance and Hines Harley Davidson, Andrew Hines. Hey, Andrew, great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks, guys. Glad to be back.
Good, good. So tell us about putting your teammate away at the Gators.
Oh, man, that was phenomenal. It's always good to send Eddie packing there in the fourth round.
He doesn't let you work on the car or on the bike, I hope, right before the race, right? You stay away from his bike and he stays away from your bike?
Exactly, yeah. We kind of kept our hands on our own motorcycles there for a little while, but no, it was all good, good fun, and heck, we had the quickest side-by-side race in Pro Stock motorcycle history. So it's really awesome to run side-by-side 75, 76. It was a phenomenal deal.
So
I got the win light that time.
Why are the Harleys so good, so quick out of the box this year?
We did some good work over the off season and built a new chassis for myself, and it's working really well. It responds good in 60 foot, and it rides really nice down the racetrack. I guess my older bike, I've been riding it for so long, I've become numb to the issues it was having. It would slide the front end sideways in third and fourth gear, going between 140 and 170 miles an hour. The front end would be turned, and I guess I was just scrubbing too much speed, and I just became so accustomed to that fact that I couldn't really tune it out of there, and didn't expect it to be that detrimental. But the new chassis, it rides nice and straight down the racetrack, doesn't fold the front end over, and guys at Vance and Hines here, they did a good job building a new chassis that's symmetrical, and it doesn't try and twist any which way going down the racetrack. So it just unlocked the doors for me to be able to go as fast as I was used to years ago, and then run right back with Eddie. I guess we've been fighting it in the background and not really knowing it here for the last couple of years.
Hey, Andrew, last week I talked to you. You guys were going to the wind tunnel and doing some testing. Did you learn any good information that's going to help that Harley go even faster?
We did. We sure did. We tried some new helmets, and we're just going to, we got some new stuff coming down the pike that's just more in line with Harley selling currently. So we're hoping to debut that here kind of mid-season, and it was just kind of a trial run just to take what we had with the old bike and kind of see where we needed to go in the future. So we'll see what comes down the pike here, but it's looking pretty good.
So does Eddie have the same chassis now as you, the new version that you're talking about? Is that why you guys are so equal?
Well, his bike is just it's actually really old, but for some reason it doesn't do the same characteristics that my old bike did. So he's still able to get down the track and go quick without the front end folding over too bad and scrubbing a bunch of speed. So we got a new chassis for him in the works. We'll debut that probably when we bring out our new look here in the midseason.
Andrew, you were telling us when we were chatting with you before we went on that you were out eating lunch. Now, what does a Pro Stock bike racer eat for lunch? I know, like Steve Johnson, every time I went out to lunch with him, he orders a little thing of broccoli or something. Do you actually eat real food, or is the weight restrictions too tough?
Well, here's the deal. NHRA just added 15 pounds for us, so I just added
cheeseburger,
eggs and hash browns and pancakes. So
and pancakes.
Wow.
Eggs, hash browns, and pancakes?
I ate about half of each, but it's yeah. I mean, I tend to enjoy life a little bit, maybe more than I should sometimes. But yeah, with the weight penalty, I'm not planning on putting all the 15 pounds on me. I want to put it on the motorcycle where I can, but I do go work out and try and maintain my weight, or lose a little bit here and there when I get closer to the season. So I'm at a decent fighting weight right now, and just kind of stay here.
We had Angelle on earlier this year, and she was talking about how excited she was to be part of the team for 4 races at the time she thought she was going to get. Now you folks have made the announcement she's going to be with you all season. How is adding her to the team helping in research and development and data?
Well, it's given me the 3 total motorcycles now to look at the tune-up from run to run for air, fuel, and timing and things that are really going to be a concern. So I'm still struggling a little bit with her weight bias. It's different than how Eddie and I ride the bikes, and we're heavier riders that are up top. So we didn't quite nail the setup for her at Gainesville. We did pretty good in testing, but the few runs there that we had in Gainesville just kept smoking the tire pretty good in first year. So kind of go back to basics and not try and make her go 103 60 foot. We'll try and get her something that's a little more calm, easier to ride. But she had such a great fan impact and social media impact here the last month that it was just a no-brainer for Terry to go forward and try and push for the whole season with Harley, and they agreed to the deal, and we're going to charge forward with 3 bikes for the rest of the year.
Andrew, you guys kind of, even though Advanced Hines Race Team, it's a kind of a big deal. It's also a family deal, right? You've got your dad and your brother, and I've known you guys for a long time. I think that's, one of the funnest things about going to the races is being a little bit of family time. And with you guys, it's all family time. That's how do you use that?
It is. It's every day, all day. I just got done with lunch with my brother, so it's all the time. My dad was out of town this weekend, but he's coming back in today. So, when we go to the races, it's a normal atmosphere. It's something we're used to. So we take the same thing from the race shop days and go right to the races, and it's really no problem. So, a little bit different this year. Matt's actually staying back at the shop during races, and Eddie and I are doing all the tuning duties on the motorcycles now. Matt's kind of charging forward on our R&D setup for what we're going to need for the future to go out and beat the rest of these guys for the rest of the season. So he's back at the shop building chassis and working on future R&D projects for the dyno and things like that. But all in all, it's working out pretty well.
Testing during the off season, there's always a lot of talk and a lot of assumptions as to who you might have to really square off against as you get towards the end of the season. Now you've got one in the book, so you get a little bit of an idea of what the competition has. Who do you see from what you saw in Gainesville that's going to be there to fight you for the title, or is the best and maybe biggest rival going to be your own teammate?
Ideally, it'd be my teammate or teammate. Once we get Angel's bike running up to par, it'll be just as strong as the rest of us. But Matt Smith, obviously, we saw his performance in Pomona at the end of the year, and he was pounding out 201s like they were giving them away. So we know he's going to be tough all season long, and obviously he's got 2 other bikes in his camp that are capable of winning rounds. So the rest of it, the Hector Arana team, senior and junior there, they got power. I think they were off a little bit in Gainesville, so we don't really know. We didn't see their true potential. And then, once these Suzuki guys get it figured out and how to run in colder weather, it's going to be a strong deal all the way through with the war team with Jerry and Karen. So it's going to be tough, but I think you're going to see the same major key players up front, and you'll be battling for the top 8 qualifying positions hopefully all year. And every now and then we'll get those the sneaky people that'll come up from the back and battle it out and push people to the back half of the field. It's really just about how you race that one weekend. Sometimes you can roll in and have the tune-up and keep that all weekend long. If sometimes you roll in and you can't touch your butt with both hands. So,
Andrew, do you think we're going to be seeing more 200-mile-per-hour runs this year? It seemed like everybody's kind of getting something figured out. It seemed like Matt Smith figured something out, like you just said, at the end of the year. Did you guys figure out what he figured out, or have stumbled onto that, or you guys are just going to doing your whole new thing and just 200 miles per hour is just happening?
We will see more. The problem is all the V-twins just got hit with 15 pounds, so it's going to take probably about 1 mile an hour off the scoreboard from all us V-twin guys. So we're going to have to overcome that a little bit. But Smith and those guys, they got the EBR package that's really aerodynamic, and that was their big performance increase last year. Those things just cut through the air so good in that last 300 feet when the motorcycles are really struggling to push all that wind. So we're a little bit behind in the aero package department with what our Harleys have. We're kind of a knees in the breeze kind of deal with the stock Harley design. So we got something new coming down the pike. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit better aero. We're doing a lot of CFD work and with the guys at Harley Davidson, they're really putting in a lot of hours trying to make sure that we can have a better package than what we currently have. We can't just, unfortunately, the times are changing and the next advances are going to come in the aero side of it. So we can't just push forward and say, yeah, this is what we want. We got to prove it out before we get out there and race with it. So it'll be exciting. I'm excited for what's going to happen. Ideally we're pushing towards mid-season, like I mentioned earlier, and it'll be cool. It'll be really fun.
Great. Well, Andrew, thanks for joining us. Best of luck at the next round of competition. We look forward to having you back on the show here pretty soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always love talking to you.
Okay, we're going to come back with Red Light, Green Light right after this here on Straight Line.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
O'Reilly.
Springtime means yard work and lots of it. So when it's time to replace the battery in your riding lawnmower or tractor, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help. The professional parts people will help you find just the right Superstart lawn and garden battery to make sure your mower starts over and over again. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Join Motor Racing Network every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. Get the latest news and exclusive interviews from the biggest names in the sport.
But I mean, I don't know how to summarize it any better that, a driver's home track where his family and friends are all present just feels like a bigger event.
Hear the thoughts and opinions from NASCAR insiders and much more.
I mean, when people come up to me all the time and say, hey, Rusty, who's going to win this week? I consistently say the 4 car.
It's NASCAR Live every Tuesday evening at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. In the lights, ready for red light, green light with Ralph Shaheen and Doug Herbert. And we're going to begin with the green light. And this one's pretty exciting. We just talked about a little bit with Andrew Hines on the show here about their teammate over there at the Vance and Hines Harley team. Angel Sampi has been signed up for the full season now, Doug. And I think that's really exciting.
That's definitely a green light, yeah, to see Angel go out there and run the whole year. As Andrew was saying, I think they're going to get that bike figured out. And, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out she's more aerodynamic. Just, she's small, right? She's 90 pounds or something. I mean, for her to get on that bike, that's an advantage. So I think once they get it figured out.
If that 15 pounds that he's talking about that the NHRA is going to add to the V-twins can be made up on the aero side, she might get there quicker than the other two with him and Eddie.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So definitely a green light, I think, with Angel running the whole year. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, as a red light, unfortunately, we were all kind of looking forward to seeing Frank Pedregon competing at the Denso Sparkplugs NHRA 4-wide Nationals coming up. And unfortunately, he broke his leg in 3 places, a femur in 3 places, in a car accident on the street. And that's going to keep him out.
Boy, being in a car crash on the street, man, to break your femur in 3 places, that is a big-time red light and a painful one, too. And, man, that's just – I hate to see that for Frank. That's
now the team is saying that he'll be back in Sonoma. That's where they're hoping to bring the car back. It's the Worsham Family Racing entry, 2 to 4 weeks on the healing of the broken femur. And, by the way, we should say it wasn't his fault. Another car came out in front of him.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Well, yeah, we definitely wishing Frank a speedy recovery on that broken leg. Man, just I don't know. I don't think there's anything you can do to rush a broken femur to be fixed.
No, you can't.
That's just a tough one. So best wishes to Frank Pendergrass.
And there's no report if it's his right or his left leg, how that would impact him in the car, driving the car, if it would speed up or delay the recovery process at all.
Well, unfortunately, driving a nitro car, you've got your 1 foot on the clutch, your 1 foot on the gas pedal, and you're really using both of your legs and feet going down. So I know. Remember a while back when Force hurt his foot, and then I think Wilkerson hurt his foot pretty bad. And it made it where they were having trouble pushing the clutch down. You're just sitting there holding the clutch down. It's a really heavy clutch pedal, or it can be a really heavy clutch pedal, and so you really need both your legs and your feet to be working right.
And he's dealing with 3 brakes, not just 1, right?
Yeah, that's just tough.
Well, Frank, hurry up, heal up, and we look forward to seeing you back at the racetrack. Okay, so we talked about the next upcoming event. It's the first weekend in April, and that is out in Vegas, and it's a 4-wide, so that's going to be a lot of fun to look forward to.
4-wides are always a lot of fun. Like Ron Capps was saying earlier, the first 4-wide that was not here at ZMAX Dragway in North Carolina, the West Coast people got a chance to see the 4-wide. And, I don't know I don't really care, I guess, what people say. I think the 4-wide deal is pretty cool. It gives you something to see that you can't always see. I know out here at the ZMAX race, the 4-wide race is typically sold out event every day. So I'm talking to fans here at the 4-wide race that, they come from Europe, they come from Australia, they come from all over the place because this is the only place you can see that. So I think having those special events, kind of like what they did in Gainesville, right, with the Legends, and it's just something new, it's something different, and I think it's good for NHRA. It's good for the sport.
We don't want to see every race done that way, but one or two, I'm fine with all of that. Make sure you go to NHRA.com, click on the red ticket tab in the top right corner, get your tickets, come on out to the races, and have some fun. So, well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Did you have a good time?
I always have a good time, Ralph. Get to come hang out with Ralph Shaheen for a half hour or so? Yeah. What are you talking about? This is great fun. Cap's on the phone, Andrew Hines. It's just a bunch of guys that we like,
Now you got to go build us a front engine dragster.
We got to do that. It's just going to happen.
Mimi's just going to have to understand. That's it. We're doing it.
She's going to say you're driving it.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, join us next week. We'll be back to do it again right here on MRN Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Thanks for watching.